Chris, just what did you see from your group from the start to kind of get you where you needed to go here tonight?
Yeah, I felt confident that we'd come out and play well. And I felt like we figured out like an offensive rhythm. The last game, I thought, they give you a lot of, like we said, puzzles to solve. I thought we'd come out and play well. Really did. Fortunately, we had the cushion. I think we looked a little bit gassed at times. They just kept hustling and hustling and hustling, beat us to some balls. But thankfully, we had the cushion, and everybody stepped up and played really well. Led by our vets today. Mike, Rudy, Julius, they were really kind of leading the way. It was great to see Dante with a big game out there again, and so just a really solid effort by everybody. So.
Just from a big picture standpoint, this has been an up and down year. It took you a while to find where you're at. Just what does it mean to you to be back where you were last year and
go through
everything you did?
Every team goes through a lot, and it's just everyone wants to rush the process. Everybody wants everything to be great and compare it to what you've done in the past. All that's kind of irrelevant, really, when you have a new team coming into a season. And the challenge we laid down to our guys from day one was quite simple. It was one question. Were you a Western Conference Finals team, or were you a team that just happened to make the Western Conference Finals? And there's only one way to prove that. Go out and do it again. And that was our mission all year. And, it took a lot of growing pains, but the team's come together at the right time and playing its best basketball. So,
Chris, can two things be true at once? Really active, crisp ball movement and 21 turnovers at the same time?
Yeah, no doubt. I thought we had, a lot of our turnovers I thought were unforced. A bunch were in transition. We have these moments in transition where we just don't make the simple play in front of us and make it hard and try to play in a crowd. And then, just some tired ones at the end. So.
But the ball movement?
Yeah, the ball movement was great. I thought the ball movement was great. I thought our spacing was great. When you play a team in a series, you start to figure some things out, hopefully. Guys did a good job of figuring out those zone and all the changing defenses.
Chris, with Mike, you guys, and he was kind of cognizant all season of trying to maintain his body, watch his minutes, sometimes resting. What he's given you right now, and on a night like tonight, just is this what you guys had envisioned all along, and just how huge was he, especially in that first half when the game was still close?
Yeah, Mike was absolutely huge today, I wanted to try to give him as much rest as I possibly could in the first half. Just never know what a second half of a game like this is going to look like. And so I gave him a long break. Didn't start the quarter with him like we normally do or often do. And, we played pretty well. And then he came back in, and, after they kind of tightened it up a little bit, and just was outstanding. We did a great job of finding him. And you get him clean looks like that, he's going to make them. So.
Chris, what did you like about the way you guys were able to defend Jimmy Butler in this series, and how were you able to prevent him from having these big games that could possibly take over?
Yeah, I think, he does such a great job of drawing fouls. I mean, he got to the free throw line at a fairly decent rate, but, mostly we just try to take away his playmaking. His really great job of getting everybody else involved. We fortunate to have a number of guys to be able to body him. Jaden has length. Julius has physicality. Ant has physicality. And those guys, and even Rudy did a really good job when he got switched on him. So, over time that take its toll on somebody when you have to face that many defenders. So,
Chris, Ant had a career-high 12 playoff assists, and as a team, you had the most in franchise history for a playoff game with 36.
Yeah.
What was kind of the chicken and the egg there? Was that Ant, being fueled by the rest of the guys, or maybe Ant's passing fueling the rest of the guys?
So I think Ant's passing got us started, got us good looks early. Ant, they were putting two on him right away, right out of the gate, doubling him. He found Mike early. He made the right read for the most part out when they were putting two on him. Did a really good job when he got downhill of finding people and making the right play there. In games like this, he said before the game, or yesterday, in practice, we're going to need everybody, and be ready. And both he and Julius, when they're creating shots for their teammates, this is what our offense is capable of. So.
Last year, you guys had a quick turnaround between the round 2 and the West Finals. This
Yeah.
year, you'll have at least a few days off. How beneficial do you think that'll be?
Yeah, it's going to be huge. I mean, this series was a lot quicker than the last one. Last series we had two days between every game. This one came faster and faster. So plus a lot of West Coast travel. It'll be good to get a chance to take a breath and regroup and figure out where we're going. So,
Chris, in regards to Julius, at any point over the course of the season, did you have doubt that he was going to be able to find this rhythm that he did and become the player that he became?
I mean, I guess my job is to not really doubt my own players in that capacity. So, it's hard to predict the future. I was steadfast in my belief that Julius was going to help this team when it mattered most. Like we've talked about a number of times, it was a trial and error process, like most things are. But I never really doubted the fact that he was exactly the player that could help us in moments like this. We just had to get to moments like this.
Chris, right here. What about Julius's game do you think really lends itself to performing at a high level in the playoffs?
The physicality, the offensive physicality, the ability to get his own shot, the ability to calm the game down, the ability to put body on big wings in the league or big players. He did a great job. LeBron, he did a great job defensively here. I've really been most impressed with his defense. I mean, his offense has been. I mean, he's a phenomenal offensive player. We just have to figure out how to unlock it. But his defense and his commitment to the defensive end for us has been absolutely top drawer.
Coach, throughout these playoffs, you guys have proven that you can win with defense, monster individual scoring nights, or a total team effort like tonight. What does that say about your team, that there isn't just one path to victory?
Yeah, I mean, we know what our recipe for success is. We know what that means for us. Coming into the playoffs, our team talked a lot about the selflessness that was needed for it to be able to be anybody's night, and that every series is different, every night is going to be different, and just stay ready. Dante was huge for us tonight, big spark off the bench. We just talked about the balance with our veterans. In particular, Rudy had, probably his most impactful offensive night tonight. But those guys kept guarding and they kept doing everything else, even when the ball wasn't coming their way, and shots were not falling or they were not getting shots. So, that's like all credit to our guys. They made this a point of emphasis. This is what we had to have. So,
Coach, you feel like your team is peaking at the right time?
I thought we peaked as the series went along. Every series is different. So, so you see how we started game one. I thought we played pretty well in the Lakers series. So, you gotta get the engine going again every single time, every time you start a series. So, but we're playing well. We're doing things we know we can do to win games.
Chris, earlier in the season, I think it was out in Los Angeles, you spoke about trying to build a culture and an organization that gets a lot of kind of spins at the wheel, advancing deep into the playoffs, things like that. Obviously, second straight year you're in the Western Conference Finals. What are maybe some of the characteristics that you can identify, whether it's with the guys or the organization as a whole, that has helped you get to this point from where you started when you got here?
Well, I would say, resiliency, connectivity, preaching about, making winning plays, doing the right thing, all the cliched stuff. I think it was Dave asked me about, everybody's window. Like, the key is you got to just put yourself there as many chances as you possibly can. Tim Conley has a great line. He says the path to success is not always linear. It doesn't mean just because you went so far in the playoffs you're going to go one step further. You might not always do that, but yet come back the next year having put in place the lessons that you learned. And I think I could see some of that. I could see some of that for us in the playoffs. What we learned last year in the Dallas series, and how we were applying it. Not necessarily with tactics or strategy or game plan, but more about approach and connectivity and what happens. When the pressure comes.
obviously, Chris, to that approach, the complexion of the series obviously changed a lot when Curry went
Sure,
up. What
no
did
doubt.
you just think about your teams maintaining the proper approach really throughout the rest of the way?
Yeah, I mean, it's, a tremendous loss for Golden State, no doubt. Tremendous loss for the series. And I'm sure it would have been quite different, had Steph been able to play. But our guys took care of business, and that's not something that we've always done. I thought we had a bunch of business-like approaches in this series and took advantage of something that happened and made the best of it. So no need to apologize for it. We just, went out and did it.
Chris, at one point in the season, did you personally know that this was a Western Conference Finals team and not a team that went to the Western Conference Finals?
Depend what day you ask me. That's part of the journey. But we felt confident in our group once we saw us play how we knew we could play. Let's put it that way. So. Any other questions? Thanks.
Well, first of all, congrats to the Wolves. They were fantastic. Had a great series, beating us 4 games straight after that first one. Congrats to Chris Finch, Tim Conley. They've done a great job here the last few years building this team, and back-to-back Western Conference Finals, pretty damn impressive. So. It was a fight. Really proud of our guys. They hung in there and they battled the whole way through, and quite a turnaround in our season. From where we were a few months ago to giving ourselves a chance and having a swing at the plate. For some real chances to go deep, and we were right there, and obviously. Didn't go our way, but again, the Wolves were great. They deserved it, and I'm very proud of our team.
How difficult is the Steph aspect to this? It's kind of the what if that you'll always live.
Yeah, I mean, injuries are, part of the playoffs. I learned a long time ago. The playoffs are really about health, and then just guys stepping up and making some big shots, big plays, in key games. That's what decides every series. And so we've been on both ends of that, and it's just part of it. So there's no sense in dwelling on it. And, I don't want to take anything away from what Minnesota just accomplished. So no sense in even talking about Steph.
How much carryover do you feel like there was from going 7 with Houston from the last series into this series, just the attrition that series required? Well,
we obviously came in here and won Game 1, coming right off of Game 7. So I don't think it was an issue. I thought Game 3 was the key to the series. We're at 1-1, and we've got a 6-point lead in the mid-fourth, and they made huge plays down the stretch of that game, and that was the one we needed to get. And then I thought the last 2 games they broke free offensively. I mean, they shot 63% tonight. We couldn't stop them. We actually did everything we wanted to accomplish. We dominated the possession game. We got 39 threes up, but 12 more field goal attempts, 15 more free throws. We did everything we needed to do to win the game. But they shot 63%. So ultimately, you've got to be able to guard and get stops, and we weren't able to do that.
You guys were only down by 6 with about 2 minutes left in the second quarter. Then they go on that 9-0 run, kind of like what they did in the last game. I guess what happened there?
Yeah, they broke free. It felt like the transition stuff in the first half was really key. I looked at the stat sheet at halftime. They only had 6 transition points. I think that was misleading. Those stats are a little nebulous sometimes too. It felt to me like they were getting out in transition and then getting into the paint, and then their passing was spectacular tonight. They had 20 assists in the first half, had us on a string. We kept having to rotate because the ball would get free, and we'd had to bring help. and the ball started to move for them, and they played a beautiful first half, and that last 9-0 run was a big part of the game.
Two of your youngest guys had the biggest scoring outputs tonight, obviously, Jonathan and Brandon. What did you see from them tonight and in the series? Brandon obviously had struggled. But
I thought it was our best offensive game of the series, even though we didn't shoot well. The ball really moved. We had great pace, great tempo. I thought Brandon did a really good job of pushing the ball, getting it swung side to side. We were able to attack them on closeouts because the ball was moving. Our spacing was much better. That was a big problem for us earlier in the series, just a lack of spacing. Obviously playing some new lineups that hadn't played together. A lot of lineups that had, guys who are used to being in the paint, and we were asking them to be on the perimeter. Tonight we did a much better job of that, of getting spaced, and that allowed us to move the ball. And both J.K. and Brandon, had big scoring nights. I was really thrilled for Moses. It's been a tough postseason for him, but he showed exactly who he is, as a player, as a person, just staying ready, coming in, having that big fourth quarter. That was meaningful, and I love our guys. Like I said, we this was a hell of a run for us, considering where we were at the trade deadline. Jimmy changed our season, flipped everything for us, gave us a chance. We became one of the best teams in the league, and obviously, you get to the final 8 in the NBA, you're one of the best teams, and we had a shot, but things didn't go our way. But like I said, Minnesota deserves the credit. They were the better team.
With that said, how do you feel about the future? And I'm talking more just next season. With Jimmy now here and what you guys can maybe build on.
Yeah, I'm excited. We got obviously Jimmy and Dre and Steph all coming back. Our young players performed really well this year. There's a lot to look forward to.
Not trying to set you up with excuses, because I know you don't want that, but was Butler pretty much 100%, or was he compromised physically?
Well, I think he was definitely compromised through all series. I think the injury in Houston definitely impacted him. He's been playing through pain, and I think the biggest thing in this series is that without the spacing that Steph gives us, Minnesota did a great job of just playing us one-on-one. They guarded us on the perimeter. They were trying to take away our threes, and that forced Jimmy to play a lot of one-on-one against a long athletic team. And his whole game is to ISO, get the ball into the paint, and then move it to generate shots. And they just made the decision not to leave our perimeter guys, even our non-shooters on the perimeter. They just stayed with them everywhere and made Jimmy play one-on-one. And because they have a lot of length and athleticism, it wasn't easy for him to get anything at the rim and in the paint, and obviously they've got Gobert back there, so they made things difficult on Jimmy. Once Steph went out, it changed everything for our whole team, but especially for Jimmy.
Steve, you guys did a nice job, especially in the first half, of getting Anthony off the ball, which is what you wanted to do. He had 6 points at halftime, but you guys were down 15. Is there an adjustment that you can make from that? Or, where do you go from that when you're down 15 and he has 6 points?
Yeah, we blitzed him early in the game. We were trapping him, and they got free, and they scored several times against our blitzes, and that's the risk you take, when you go to that coverage. So I thought all in all tonight we threw a lot of stuff at him, box and one, one possession, a lot of zone, trapping in the backcourt. But they're a hell of a team. They've got shooting everywhere, and that's the name of the game in modern NBA. If you can space the floor with 4 or 5 different guys, it makes defense really, really difficult. And I thought their spacing, their shooting just spread us out, and that allowed their guys to attack and get into the paint.
Following up on the earlier question about Pods and Jonathan, your younger guys, obviously with Steph's injury, they had a bigger role in this series. How much can this playoff experience sort of help them going forward?
Fantastic playoff experience for both guys. Very proud of Jonathan, to go from where he was in the Houston series, not really being part of the rotation, And then when Steph got hurt, staying ready and coming in and he played really well here these last 4 games. And BP, this was a great experience for him. He said there were times in the series where he was hesitant to shoot. Even tonight, he was 4 for 6. I thought he could have gotten 10 or 11 threes off, and we needed those. And I told him that after the game. I said, when we get back here next year, you are not going to turn down a single shot. And that's part of the playoffs. I lived it as a player. It is it's a mind game. I call it, something more profane. But the playoffs are they are a mind game. And it's really easy to lose your confidence. Teams throw different schemes at you. You have a bad game, and everybody's talking about your shooting percentage, and you feel like you're on an island. I've been there, and it was great for Brandon to go through that and then finish the series with a great game, because he's got to understand this is what it feels like. Nobody cares in January if you have 2 games where you're 4 for 20. But in the playoffs, everybody's writing about it. Everybody's talking about it. You feel exposed, and that's a big part of playoff experience is understanding you got to keep firing. You got to stay aggressive, keep your confidence any way you can.
Steve, you mentioned earlier we had a shot. When you look back at this series, at the playoffs, the way you guys played to get out of Houston, the way Steph and you guys were playing that game 1 right before you got hurt, will you wonder what if? What did you think how far this team could go, the potential?
Yes, the next few days. I don't even have to think whatever. I know we had a shot. I know we could have gone the distance. Maybe we wouldn't have, but it doesn't matter. Again, everything in the playoffs is about who stays healthy and who gets hot. Are you playing well at the right time? Do you have multiple guys step up in key games, make shots? And do you have good health? And, you see it every year in every series. And so there's a little bit of luck involved, and we, like I said, we've been on both sides of that, and it's just part of it.
Does it give you confidence going into next season of knowing what this team is capable of?
For sure. The second half of the season, we became one of the best teams in the league. We had, really, I think the number 1 ranked defense for the last 30 games. We became a 2-way basketball team. I think Mike Dunleavy's a superstar. I think what he's done in the last couple of years, I have total faith in Mike and his ability to look at our team, figure out what we need, and help us get better this summer. And so I'm excited for what's ahead. Disappointed, but Minnesota was great, man. I wish them well.
Steve, given the ages of Steph and Draymond and Jimmy, how much is luck just a part of when you get to this point? Luck that they stay healthy, luck that, older players stay upright at this point?
You need luck when they're younger, too. You do. Like I said, we've been on both sides of it. 2015, we go to the finals, and, Cleveland's without Kyrie and Kevin Love, and the next year, we're in the playoffs, and Steph goes down, and he's banged up, and Draymond gets suspended, and stuff happens, and we've been on both sides of it. And so, yes, our main 3 guys are older now, so we're going to have to navigate that as best we can. But you just go for it, and do the best you can.
Given the arc of the season where you guys, finished, how do you think you'll remember 24-25?
I will remember this season for the way this team was connected and persevered, and what an incredible group. Going back to, October training camp, playing 13 guys out of the gate, and then our team transforming with the trade for Jimmy. But I enjoyed coaching every single guy on this team. And all you can really ask as a coach is for your team to commit to each other, to the cause, and for guys to fight through adversity when things don't go their way. And we saw that over and over again with all of our guys. And that's really satisfying. So I thoroughly enjoyed this season, love our guys, and like I said, it's sad that it's over, but it's a really fun year.
Draymond said something, Steve, Draymond said something after game 4. He said that it seemed like every time we get a little run going, they have an answer for it.
Yeah.
Does that take an emotional or a psychological toll on a team when you see you're coming back, and they zap right back at you?
Yeah, for sure. But look, they were the better team. I mean, Julius Randle was incredible. What a series, you know. And he's always been a really good player in this league. I think he has taken a leap. I remember playing here early in the season, and it looked like a tough fit, and they didn't have the spacing. You know, they missed Towns, and you fast forward to now, he's 13 for 18 tonight. He was just incredible the whole series. We couldn't stop him. Obviously, Anthony Edwards is just a superstar. So they were the better team, and yeah, it's demoralizing, but that's you know, that's what the game is about. Can you get stops? And we couldn't get stops. Thank you.
Julius, just how did you feel like you guys responded to the moment here tonight?
Hello. Yeah. We did great. We came out with the right approach. We knew, like I said all series, they have championship DNA, and they weren't just going to lay down. They were going to make us earn it, and they did. They fought, but, you know, we came out with the right approach, right mindset, and executed for most of the game. So,
the season took a lot of turns, a lot of ups and downs. Just what does it mean to you to see this team go through all of that to get to a conference finals here?
It's great. Just proud of our group as a whole, organization as a whole, just sticking together, you know, having each other's backs, and, you know, just battling through adversity together, not letting hard times, you know, split us up as a group, but, you know, us, you know, having a mental toughness and, you know, determination to say we're going to figure this thing out, because I think all of us, you know, as a whole believe how good, you know, we could be as a team. So, you know, I'm extremely proud of everybody in this organization on this team.
With all the adjustments that you've made during the course of the season to fit this team, how satisfying was it in some ways to get back to that bread and butter when you knew that they needed a basket coming down tight a couple of times and getting those?
Yeah, I just try to do my best to read the game the best way I can. They threw different coverages at us, you know, all series long, and our ability to adjust on the fly and, you know, do what the game was, you know, calling for us to do as, you know, everybody on the team, each individual, it was good. So, you know, whenever we need a basket, you know, Coach puts me in great spots to do that. And if he needs me to play make, he puts me in great spots to do that as well. So, you know, it's whatever the team needs in the moment.
Mike, big picture, a big part of this season, right, is incorporating Julius onto this team. How did you see Julius and Coach Finch kind of navigate that over the course of the season so it peaked and has been thriving the way it has?
Yeah, I think obviously Coach having a relationship with him prior to being here, he had a vision for what he can be for our team, and it took a minute for all of us to kind of gel and follow along with that because, you know, it's a completely different team between him and who we had last year and on our squad. And his game, he can do so many things for us as far as his playmaking ability and how much he brings the ball up and distributes. And for a lot of us, it was a learning curve. And they did a good job of just allowing us to stick with it. There were times where we weren't playing our best early in the season, and nobody got frustrated with each other. Nobody, you know, was down on, you know, who our team was at that moment. We knew that if we just kept going at this, kept like figuring it out, learning each other as we go, we'd you know, hopefully be in this position we're in today.
Mike, what do you think your 2015 self after playing the Warriors would think of where you are all of this time, having as much fun as it seems like you're having?
I wouldn't have thought I'd been still playing, honestly. Have another chance to play against them, but I'd be proud of where we're at right now. Having lost to them, 10 plus years ago, whatever it was, with the team that we felt that was championship ready at that moment, hurt a lot. And then it took me another 9-10 years to even get back to competing again at that same level. So just happy to be back in the situation with these guys. Wouldn't want to be with anybody else, and looking forward to the next 4.
Mike, at the end of the conference finals last year, Ant came straight up to you. He said, "We'll be right back here." Just what does it speak to Ant having that much confidence and belief in coming right back? And how is he as a leader that we don't see from the inside out?
What you learn about him, he believes everything he says, no matter what it is. And at that moment last year, I believed him. I believed that we'd have another opportunity together, and this wasn't the end of the road. And he'd been working all summer for that. He worked all season for that, and he's led us to this point. Him, Julius, Dante, all the people that have followed along and added in piece by piece as we go. It kind of all starts with him and his belief in himself and his teammates.
Julius, Ant said when you came back from injury, you just seemed like a totally different person. When do you feel like it clicked for you that you can be what we've been seeing so far this postseason? How excited are you moving forward to perform at the next level?
Yeah, I mean, during that time, it was right before All-Star, a couple weeks before All-Star or whatever, I got hurt. And, usually typically when you go into All-Star break, you got time to just reflect on the season as a whole and how things have been going. And, that process started a little bit earlier for me, and then, obviously leading into All-Star. So, I got to see our team from afar. I think the other thing for me during that time that helped me, it was even though I was playing and just talking to my agent Aaron Mintz and stuff like that, he was always telling me just be engaged with your teammates even though you're on the sideline. And I think that was another moment of growth for me in a way, because even though I wasn't playing, just being engaged, cheering for the guys, encouraging, being able to use my voice in a way that maybe I haven't been comfortable in the past with. I just try to lead by example. So I felt even though I wasn't playing, I was still with the team. And after I came back, just my mindset was how can I help this team win? And it was just as simple as that.
Julius, beyond that, too, what else has felt different for you during this playoff run? Because obviously you've just been so consistent and so dominating. Is it the coaching? Is it your chemistry with your teammates? What is it that's different this time?
Yeah, I think it's all the above. I think it's just environment, coaching staff, my chemistry with my teammates, their belief in me, my belief in them as well. And I just think, environment matters. And, since I've gotten here from day one, they've been special, everybody. So,
Julius, have you expanded your game since coming from New York? I mean, are you doing more?
I don't know if that's the case. I just always said that Finch has just been great. From the day I got here, I just knew the type of coach he was. And I just think he's just done an amazing job of just allowing me to use all my tools. I don't necessarily want to just be a scorer or a rebounder or whatever it is. He puts me in positions to be multiple different things, many different things on any given night. So he's really just opened up my game, and I just knew eventually that would be the case as the season went along and my relationship and chemistry developed with my teammates.
Mike, has your view of the regular season changed at all in recent years? Talk about it being a journey, but just I think there are times where you think this is going to sink us and whatnot, and then.
And say he want to go. I appreciate y'all.
Crash the party. I don't need no seat, man. Fuck it. I'll stand up, man.
Y'all be good.
Come on, bite. Let Gobert sit down, man. Y'all boys get up out of here, man.
I'm out.
And just big picture for this series, what Julius was able to do. Just what stood out to you about that, and just kind of reflecting on the whole season of what he's kind of built to to get to this point? Like, what sticks out in your mind?
Just how he create for others, and his impact on the game. The way he controlled the tempo, the way he pushed the pace, the way he bring us along with him when he pushes the pace, and just even his defense. His defense has gone to another level. The way that he communicates with us, like his attention to detail, everything, man. It's incredible. It's incredible to be his teammate, and he brings it every night, and he shows you that he wants to win. So I'm happy to have him next to me.
You were confident last season after the Western Conference Finals that you would be back here. I think you said we will be back. What fueled that, and what did you have to do over the course of the season to get here individually and collectively as a group?
A lot of ups and downs. Just had to stay with it. And what fueled it? I mean, we lost last year, so just trying to take that into the summer. I didn't have too much personal workout time because I was with the USA team, but the time that I did have, I definitely had that in the back of my mind.
Rudy, you've come up big in these closeout games in the first 2 rounds. Just what was your mindset going into this, and how did you assert yourself tonight the way that you needed to?
For me, it was just about being present, try to enjoy the moment. I try to really focus on my preparation, and then once I'm on the floor, it's just about enjoying the moment, being present of both ends, try to set the tone for my team and for my teammates, and doing it with my energy, and then usually the game takes care of itself, but when you kind of like in that moment and enjoying that moment, you're just yourself, and I try to be that every night.
This was an entirely different ride to the conference finals from last year. Is there more satisfaction or anything just with all of the ups and downs that you guys went through that you stayed together and you're right back where you were last year?
There's no satisfaction.
Yeah, if
we just got here. We haven't done anything yet, so no, he's not satisfied.
That's exactly how it feels. It feels good to get to that step, but his stomach is not full, not at all. It's just one step, and in a way, last year it felt different because it was a game 7. We down I don't know how many at half, and we came back and won. So obviously, the adrenaline was different, right? But this year it's kind of like we sat down early in the season. We said we're gonna get back right where we left last year, and then we want to achieve our goal. And now we are halfway there. So it's we know that it's not gonna get easier at all, and we focused on that.
And when you were talking about the Warriors earlier in the series, you talked about how they have a championship pedigree. What do you believe it says about your team, the way they were able to bounce back after game 1 and go on to win the series against a team with championship pedigree?
Says a lot. I told him today, the most together team and the most mature team is a team that wins around this time. It's not about who get 30 points, who get the most shots, who get all the blame for winning the game, and it's not about none of that. It's about coming together as a team. Can we defend at a high level, and can we limit the other team to one shot? It doesn't really matter about offense. As long as we get good shots, and it don't matter who shoot it. So we did that tonight.
And is there any lesson that you learned from the Dallas series that stuck with you that maybe you've applied throughout the regular season or throughout the playoffs thus far?
Nope. Just a loss.
How about Rudy? Was there anything you think when you look back to the last year's Western Conference Finals that was missing for the team from your team that maybe that you have more of going into this year's?
I think for us, it's our approach. More importantly, it's not about talent. It's not about us wanting to win or not, right? We want to win, but it's about staying, level-headed after a win like we had last year against Denver, Game 7. I felt like, when you got the whole world praising you, and and all of a sudden you went from being an underdog to being the favorite. I think in a way we weren't mature enough to handle that yet, but we were much aware of it. And this year I feel like we're mature enough. I feel like we understand where we're at, and so in a way that's the lesson. In our preparation, in our approach, it's about us. It's not about who we face. It's about our mindset and when our mindset and our work and our attention to details, our level of urgency is right, we know we can play with anyone.
Question for both of you. Obviously, there's been some history between you guys, the Timberwolves and Jimmy Butler and Draymond. How personal was this?
I don't have no history with those guys, so it wasn't personal. It was just trying to get a win.
I don't know about the Jimmy thing. I wasn't there.
Yeah, I don't have no history with nobody.
We have I have a lot of respect for those two guys. They're both highly competitive players, for me, it's just about, I'm just focused on trying to win the championship. What happened, and there's nothing really personal. I think it's also a team game, so, they both accomplished great things. But now I feel like now it's, for me personally, I'm just focused on writing my own story, and to each individual has their own journey and story, and I'm just trying to accomplish my dream, my goal, winning a championship. That's all I care about.
And going back to the Western Conference Finals, how different does it feel this year? How prepared do you feel? How much more prepared do you feel to try to get it done this time?
I can't really speak on how prepared I feel because I don't know. We haven't started playing yet, but hopefully I'm more prepared than I was last year.
And I think there was a story in an All-Star game that they asked you to throw a lob coming out, and you told the coach, I don't throw lobs. Yeah. You threw a lot of them today. Yeah. Just like, what are you seeing in that, and how much more comfortable are you in that?
How many you threw today?
I threw like 3-4 on today, right? Like Root comes up to me every time out, Sack, you got to read it, and I need that because it's there a lot. And I tell Jaden all the time, like when I'm driving, cut that corner because most of the time your man trying to play two, and if you cut, he can't play two. Now he got to make a decision. Do he want to give up an easy 2 points or a corner three? So just reading the game, and then C. Hans bringing the clips to me every time out when I'm out of the games and we watching it and I'm analyzing it. Just, trying to break the game down for sure before I check back in.
Rudy, big game for Mike Conley tonight. I was thinking about in the bubble, I think it was, he had that final shot to go to the Western Conference Finals that rimmed out. Yeah. I guess for both of you guys, like to see him specifically get to this point, I know it means a lot to you, but I guess, Rudy, thinking back to that, and where you're at now, what does that make you think?
We've been through a lot with Mike, and I love him. I just want to, more than anything, I want to win for him, right? Because it's like, we've been. I just know how much he cares about winning. How
Mike
great,
play through anything, man.
How great of a guy he is, and I want to say I want to do it for Joe, but I don't care about Joe actually. but for Mike,
Conley, man, he's the ultimate vet the best vet you can ask for, man. Plays through everything, never complains, always knows the right thing to say, always knows where to be. Yeah, and just great guy to look up to for sure.
And you guys didn't need it tonight, but there have been a couple key points. Lakers fourth quarter, game 4, Golden State game 3, where you guys were down and in tough spots, and you had some really tough shots. What has it kind of been like figuring out when to take those and just the confidence to drill them when you guys really got to have them?
Just trusting the work, man. Like I know I trust myself, so anytime I tell them, like, it's time for that. So they already know. They know what it is. Like when I get in that mode, just give me the ball and try to get me open. I tell them all the time, like, you set a good screen, we're going to score. I promise you. So,
Rudy, what is it like as a team, maybe when the chips are stacked against you guys, to almost have kind of like a get-out-of-jail-free card sometimes with some of the shots you can make?
It's kind of like finding that balance for me. It's like I think now compared to last year and the previous years, I think he's really finding a way to choose these moments and understanding momentum. Understanding like when to take them, maybe when not to take them, and also he's such a unique scorer and such a high confident player. I realize that sometimes you just gotta let him do his thing, you know, and then sometimes gonna miss it, you're gonna make it, sometimes gonna miss it, but you gotta let him do his thing, and you gotta rely.
I miss for a lady.
But yeah, just communicate with him, but also, you know, let him do his thing and try to. I always tell him, I'm gonna get you a good shot. I'm gonna make it easy for you to score, and also tell him a lot to not settle. You know, he can shoot from almost anywhere, so I can understand why it's good for him to settle sometimes. But I'm also like, if you play percentages, you know, when you get to the rim, first of all, it puts a lot of pressure on the other team, and we could get some much easier stuff. So he's been great at, you know, finding that balance and not settling, you know, using both weapons.
Rudy, you said this morning that you felt that this game was a big test for you guys. It seems like you guys are passing a lot of tests throughout this postseason. Have you seen enough from this group that leads you to believe that you guys are at a point where you believe you can win an NBA title?
Yeah, I mean, our goal is the same. You know, our goal is the same, and like I said, you know, it's about not getting too high, not getting too low. You know, being present, enjoying every single day, every single practice, every single game, and when the opportunity comes, just being ready. And tonight, our mindset was there, so I had zero doubt that we were gonna, you know, pass that test. Now we halfway there, so. It's almost like a new season starting.
And I don't know if you saw, but your little guy Luca, who gave you the wristband, was here tonight.
Yeah, he was fly as hell tonight.
Yeah, I was just wondering, like, what does that mean to have that moment with him and to know that he looks up to you and he's giving you something?
It means everything. It means the world to me. I was shooting, and his dad was holding him up, and I didn't realize it till like 2-3 minutes left when we was warming up. And then I seen him, and he was fly as he had the glasses on, the jersey, the wristband. He was fly as hell tonight. Shout out Luca, man. I love Luca.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah. Thank you.
Draymond, how tough is it to end a season like this under these circumstances without Steph?
It sucks to end it without Steph, but they beat us. You know, injuries are a part of it. We've won championships. When guys got hurt, that's a part of it. You know, you try to, you know, you want to be as good of a team as you can be, but we always say you need a little luck. Just because health is a huge part of it. So, you know, we definitely miss Steph. That obviously goes without saying, but I'm not going to come up here and harp on Steph not being there and make it like their win is less of what it is. They're moving on. You know, congratulations to those guys. They beat us regardless. You're on the other side. You play who's on the floor, and that's what they did, and they won. So you got to give them a lot of credit.
You obviously thought that this team had, you know, championship potential when everyone was fully healthy against the Rockets in Game 1. How close do you feel like you guys got to your ceiling?
I think we've continued to improve. There's no way to really say, you know, how close we got to a ceiling. It's over. So that's kind of, it really don't matter. But like I said, get them a lot of credit. They were incredible. Drew played great the entire series. Ant-Man's patience was beautiful. Rudy played really well. You know, so you got to give those guys a lot of credit. Our ceiling is, it is what it is. Now we were a second-round team, second-round exit. So that's what it is.
How do you view the future, you know, in next couple of years now that you got Jimmy in the fold?
I think we'll be right back at it. Sucks to end this way, but we think we got the pieces to make another run at it and do it again, and that's going to be our mindset going into the summer. You know, do all that got to do to improve. We got one of the best ownership groups and front offices in the NBA who know they'll do whatever they feel is needed to help the team improve, and us as players, you got to get back in the lab and do what you got to do to get better. But I think, come next year, we'll be right back at it and give ourselves a chance again.
Draymond, your final game of the season and your two big scorers obviously were both 22 years old, Pods and Jonathan. How would you sort of characterize their growth this year, and what do they need to do next to be more of a factor next year?
I think anytime you're starting to grow in age, years experience, the one thing you can always do, or the one focus that I would say is your consistency. Doing it on a nightly basis. And I think, you look at those guys, and Moses as well, Guy Santos, QP, Pat, they all made tremendous strides throughout the course of the year, Trace. And it'll be a big summer for all of them. Obviously, JK's got the contract situation. I always wish him the best with that, been in that situation, whether it's here or elsewhere, you just wish him the best. But I think, we saw the growth from those young guys. Next year for all of them, you hope to see them take that next big step that they're all capable of.
Draymond, you had said this team had the capability of winning a championship. Is there anything you guys need to do differently to reach that, or do you think it's just a matter of staying healthy next season?
I mean, you go into the offseason, you better get better because everybody gets better, or attempt to get better, I would say. And so that's always got to be the goal. And so that'll be our focus. I think I still have that belief wholeheartedly. That has not changed one bit. And, you retool, you do whatever it is that you got to do to take that next step and give yourself a better chance. And here at this place that we are, I have no doubt in my mind that they'll be looking to do it.
And with Jimmy these last two games, do you think it was the illness he was dealing with that kind of impacted him down the stretch?
Well, I think, number one, their defense just kind of started loading up on him. It made it a little tougher, but I know he was definitely under the weather. But, we're not a group that's going to make excuses. Give those guys credit. They defended well. They did a good job. Go back to the drawing board, figure out what we need to figure out, and come back next year. But the credit goes to them. It's, not going to sit here and say, oh, man, he was sick, or, he would have played better if he wasn't sick, or we would have played better if Steph was out there. Got to give them guys a lot of credit. They're moving on to the Western Conference Finals. And they put the work in to get there, regardless of who didn't score, who was out there. They're moving on. And, kudos, congratulations to them. They played a hell of a series.
You and Jimmy and Steph led the charge down the stretch and the playoffs and everything until injuries and stuff like that. But people are going to say going into next year that, they can point out how old you three guys are. Is that a factor? Is that a legitimate concern, or is that something you can get past?
They pointed that out last year and the year before, too. One thing I can assure them is every year we will get older. Just like every year. You'll get older, and he'll get older, he'll get older. You don't age, huh, Scott? But I don't worry about that one bit. I feel like I'm still improving. I feel like Steph's still improving. I feel like Jimmy's still improving. As long as you're improving in this league, it'll treat you well. It's when you stop improving that the bottom falls out. And I still think I personally got a lot of room for growth, and I'm sure those guys feel the same way. So, yeah, I don't worry about that one bit.
You feel like you guys pretty much got all you could out of this postseason, considering the circumstances? I mean, Jimmy coming mid-season, Steph going down. I mean, just do you think that you guys went about as far as you could go? Do you think you guys still could have gone, should have gone farther?
I definitely think we should have gone farther, but we didn't.
Yeah.
So, it is what it is. Yeah, we lost, so I guess we did get all we could, but I still think we could have went further, and I'll always think that. But
with Ant being Ant and Julius playing like he is, how good is that team?
They got a chance. They got a real shot. Anytime you got a number two that can just go get it, you give yourself a chance at the to go make it happen and get a ring. And like I said, the way Julius been playing, since he came back from the injury, by the way, it ain't just start. Like the way he's been playing since he came back from his injury, he been lights out. So, I have no doubt that he'll continue to play that way. He's aggressive as hell, and he gonna go after it. He got that mindset. Always have had that mindset. So, and it's clicking for him. So I think they got a real shot at it. When you got two dynamic, and then they got all the pieces, right? Like they got Nas coming off the bench. Jaden McDaniels is a hell of a young player. Rudy, 4-time Defensive Player of the Year. Mike Conley and his experience. Dante flying around and defending and shooting. Alexander, they got pieces, so it's just not one or two guys. They got a real team. And so I think they got a real shot at it.
Draymond, the best teams in the West at the top, they got a combination of young players who are getting better, not just Minnesota, Oklahoma City, some of the other teams. You guys are a little on the older side. When you think about...
We got young players still getting better as well.
Yeah, I was going to ask, do you feel like those young players can make enough of a leap to get you into that conversation, or do you think you need significant, personnel help that's not in the building?
I think every team in the NBA feel like they need personnel help that's not in the building. That's just the way this league works. I don't think any team, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't know any team that came back with the exact same roster next year. So I think everybody feel that way. And it has nothing to do with who's young, who's old. That's just the nature of the business that we're in. Contracts happen, money situations happen, all those things happens. And so I think that's everyone. But do I have confidence in our young guys that they can take the next step? Absolutely, 1,000%.
In what areas do you feel like you're improving, and in what areas do you want to improve more?
I want to continue to be better with the ball. I think I turned the ball over way too much this year. And I think, for me, my role has changed quite a bit. I've always kind of been in the middle of the offense, running offense, making the plays, which allows you to take more risks because you just got the ball so much more. And I think for me, I continued to take the risk without having the ball as much. And so it looks different. And so that's an adjustment that I have to make going into next year, is just understanding what that means and learning to play better. And you lit, huh? Respect. and learning to play better in the role that I am in now. I think that's something that I continue to improve on. So, yeah, I think that'll be one of my main focuses for sure.
Jimmy, to what degree did the fall Game 2 in Houston affect? How were you feeling the rest of the postseason?
Fine. Good enough to go out there and compete. We're not going to use anything as an excuse, so just didn't win.
And then how would you just contextualize how different things were throughout the course of the series without having Steph out there?
Yeah. Obviously, it's very different whenever you don't have Steph on the floor. The room is so much smaller. And I feel like everybody has to take on more and everybody has to play a little bit of a different role. But that's just the game. Injuries happen, but it is a lot different with Steph not out there.
How do you view just, I guess, your few months here and what the future and what
Yeah.
this franchise can look like?
Great. A bunch of great guys that work incredibly hard, young talent that's going to be incredibly successful in this league. It's all about, staying healthy as it always is and getting more and more comfortable playing with one another.
When do you and Draymond and Steph get together and start talking about next year?
That's a good question. That is a very good question. Maybe on the plane, I don't know. For sure sometime this summer. But when it happens, it will happen.
Have you seen enough? I know you played 8 playoff games with Steph.
Yeah.
Have you seen enough to really be convinced that healthy, this team is a contender?
For sure. I think we all know that. We all believe that. But like I said, injuries is part of it. Nobody wants to be injured. It's all about playing your basketball, the best basketball at the right time, and being healthy at the right time. Unfortunately, that wasn't us, and we came up short.
Jimmy, the last couple of times you've been in the playoffs, you've had to maybe carry undermanned rosters further than maybe where we projected where you guys should have been. Does this collection or group, or at least you, Steph, and Draymond at the top, does that give you a little bit more optimism, maybe despite your age, despite how tough the Western Conference is? Like, do you walk away feeling a little bit different than you have your last few playoff rounds?
Yeah, it is tough, but it's tough on both sides, West and East. And like I just said, if we're healthy, if all of this and if all of that, then it may be different. We don't know. But we're going to take our chances for sure if Steph is out there. But, we'll come back and figure this thing out, and next year do the same thing.
Jim, you guys were so close in Game 3. You had them with 6 minutes to go. You were up, and they blitzed at the end there. When you look at what they were able to do to you guys with your offense, what made them so successful defending you guys?
I don't know, maybe some physicality, making us take tough shots. But I don't think it's ever the offense. I think tonight they shot 62%. So if we can't stop guys from putting the ball into the basket, it's going to be hard either way. So I'm not going to say that our offense was a problem. Guard the three, make them miss a little bit more.
On the other side, then, you guys had a really strong defense last few months of the regular season. What did they do to sort of take that apart?
Move the ball incredibly well, get into the paint. I don't feel like we took too much away from them. We talked about what we wanted to do. We did it in some spurts, but not the entire game, which we needed to do. So they played well. You got to give them that.
Jimmy, it feels like you guys have been going 100 miles an hour since you got here when you were traded.
What's it going to be like to have a full season with this team, and what do you think you guys can do more based on having a full season, full camp with this team?
Yeah, I think it's going to be fun. A lot of great basketball to be had and to be played, and I can't wait to get to that point because I don't want to be not playing basketball.
4:25.
A new destination for myself, getting comfortable, working towards success. We'll take it to the next year.